in the work, so watch this space. eNCA's Aviwe Mtila was at the briefing and he joins me now. Aviwe, I see that you're still on the road, but it is apt because I think the nation is waiting to find out when this reshuffle is going to happen. What did you learn from Vincent Magwenya this afternoon?
Hello, Sally. The presidency will tell you that it's a matter of days. In fact, we're told as journalists just to stay by our emails, wait for that media advisory that will be detailing then the cabinet reshuffle. And of course, as journalists, we'll have to pounce. It sort of reminds me of an earlier conversation I had with one of the ANC members who told me that any time is tea time. They were expecting, in fact, that reshuffle just on Sunday. Of course, it didn't materialize, but we're told, of course, there are those vacancies. Yeah, latest development being the Deputy President, David Mabuza, resigning. He handed in that resignation letter yesterday, both to the Chief Whip of the African National Congress, Pepe Machodina, as well as the Speaker of Parliament yesterday. Ramaphosa has accepted it. Of course, we did know that this is coming, given that he formally handed that resignation to the President back in January already. It was mentioned at the reply by the President on the 16th of February that, in fact, he had received that and he's considering it, thanking David Mabuza for his work in the past year serving as Deputy President. But, of course, now it is official. Not the only vacancy. We do know there's that much talk about Minister of Electricity in the presidency. That was announced on the 9th of February already. We're like some 20 days away, if I'm correct from that. And you think that it's something quite urgent, given that there was also that state of disaster that was declared on that very day. So you'd expect that appointment to be something that will be dealt with speedily, but we still are waiting. The other vacancy is around the Minister of Transport. Given that the Transport Minister, Fikile Mbalula, was in December elected as the Secretary General of the African National Congress, he says to me he hasn't resigned as yet as the Member of Parliament, but of course that's another imminent issue, given that we now know that there will be that cabinet reshuffle. Let's just take a listen at the presidency spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, as he tackles this issue around what we've all been waiting for, and that's the cabinet reshuffle.
When is the president going to announce the Minister of Electricity? You know, Aviwe, that there are vacancies in cabinet. We also now have a vacancy in the role of a deputy president. And so there is a sense of agency that the president fills those vacancies as soon as possible. So in a matter of days, that announcement will be made. So I'll say to you, be on standby and look out for my advisory alerting you to the announcement.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly pre-shuffling. Let's call it pre-shuffling. Enoch Godongwana, who's been sworn in as an MP. And, of course, this is something that is not everybody knows, and I've only recently learned this, that the president is allowed to have non-MPs as part of his cabinet, but only a maximum of 2. So swearing in the finance minister as an MP, I suppose, leaves room for him to bring someone into his cabinet who's not currently an MP. And, of course, there's been so much speculation about who might go where. But as an interesting exercise, I understand that you took to the streets to find out what ordinary South Africans are speculating. Tell us more about that.
Sally, the ordinary man on the ground will tell you that no matter who's in there, it just must be a credible person who can get the job done. They're tired of the load shedding woes, which is the biggest burden in the country now, the crisis, of course, of load shedding. And the Minister of Electricity, there were names around Dr. Spusla Ramakgopa there from just the man on the ground. But in fact, I've even gone beyond. Earlier on, I was speaking with Kusatu over the phone, and they did tell me, confirming that the SACP and them as the tripartite alliance partners did meet with the president on Friday, and as much as they don't want to give the details around that, they do say though that they want someone credible there, someone in fact not a recycling of the ministers, but they want a young, energetic minister that will come in and get the job done. They also don't want someone that's tainted around corruption. That would talk to, of course, what we do already know around the state capture inquiry, number of ministers and deputy ministers fingered there by that Zondo report. So they say that they don't want anyone that has a cloud of corruption around them. And they also don't want someone that is not going to be disciplined. So they want a disciplined minister that will take issues and grievances that they have with the president directly to the president and not go out to the media, for example. But just to get an insight of what the majority of South Africans are thinking, take a listen to the voxes we put together.
Well, to tell the truth, I'm not interested. Who goes in, who goes out, for me doesn't make a difference. And I think it's what most of us South Africans are feeling at the moment, unfortunately.
Just want to have somebody that's reliable there. So I don't have a name for you, but South Africa needs somebody reliable.
We are rather concerned about the reshuffle because we don't know what's going to happen to small business. We are hoping that the reshuffle is going to deal with removing those redundant ministers who have done nothing. For SOE, for start, Pravin Gordhan must go. If he brings him back in again, that means he wants the same, is that the thing of doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Okay, Pravin Gordhan must go.
Some strong views there. And of course, in other news today, we heard that the president's, he wants to take the Phala Phala report on review. He applied for direct access for the Constitutional Court to look at it. Today, the Constitutional Court came back and said, no, not us. Did the presidency's spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, give any details on what their next move might be in this regard?
Well, Sally, Vincent Magwenya says that this is not a blow to the president at all. In fact, it looked more on the procedural issues, as you mentioned, that going directly to the highest court in the land, the Constitutional Court. So it's not looking at the actual merits of that Section 89 panel report, but merely looking at how that application was done by the president. So they're saying now they're going back to the drawing board and they're seeking legal advice and then will decide on a way forward. Not the only issue that was touched on there. You know, there is that interview done by my colleague Annika Larsen with the gone CEO of eSCM, Andre Director. I actually posed a couple of questions around that. Given that, of course, we're expecting some sort of accountability from the president. We heard that the president is urging the gone CEO, Andre Director, to go to the police. And I asked, isn't maybe the president's prerogative just to find out from Mr. Director exactly what happened, who the ministers that allegedly told him as the CEO to let people eat a bit and allow corruption are. And the president suggests that that needs to go to the rightful law authorities than actually the president interfering in there. But let's just take a listen to Vincent Magwenya once more, detailing the Phala Phala matter that was at the Constitutional Court.
On the Constitutional Court judgment, we just need to make sure that we don't mix issues. That judgment is what I will call, deals with what I will call a procedural matter with respect to the president seeking direct access to the Constitutional Court. That judgment does not pronounce on the merits of the case. So you are now going into the actual substance of the matter. That judgment just says there is no case for the ConCourt to be petitioned directly. And I think we should put that into context and understand it. I've heard some of your colleagues saying it's a blow to the president. It's not a blow to the president. What will happen now, the legal team will convene and map the way forward and consider the options going forward. But it's not necessarily a blow, and it's not a judgment on the substance and merits of the case. It's just a procedural issue insofar as whether the president was correct in petitioning the ConCourt directly. Our view is that he was correct in doing so because the matter concerned a report that was seized with the conduct of the president, and our view was that the ConCourt was the right court to hear the matter. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that and we don't confuse issues.
Well, thank you so much, Aviwe Mtila, for bringing us up to speed on a number of issues. Later in the programme, I'll be speaking to a constitutional expert about the options now available to the president. And also, speaking of the cabinet reshuffle, we know that it's well, 99% certain that Paul Mashatile is going to become the country's next deputy president. We are awaiting a speech that is due to happen this evening from the National Union of Mine Workers. They're holding their special congress in Boksburg this evening, and we're going to take Paul Mashatile's speech live when that does get underway. But for now,